Let's start. To understand Machiavelli, we need to understand his environment. Machiavelli was born in that Renaissance time of Florence. It was a hostile environment, not only because of the political power fights that were occurring at the time, but also there was always this fear of invasion. There was always the fear of corruption and that one family wanted to dominate the other. And Machiavelli, although to be clear, he was not born into power. He was a public servant. We can say that Machiavelli was an observant of all these behaviors. But yet, in order to be successful in this political game, he not only needed to know how to play the political game, but he also needed to be a tyrant, to be part of the political system. And let's be clear, Machiavelli wasn't a writer from a quiet library. He was highly engaged as a civil servant and diplomat to the Florentine Republic for 14 years, serving the Medici family. So this means that he was observing kings, popes, princes, leaders. And in that observation, he saw the ruthlessness of people's behavior. Imagine serving someone that you know will do anything to be in power. Wouldn't you be afraid of retaliation at any point? Wouldn't you be a little bit scared that if you don't obey, something catastrophic can happen? But even if you obeyed, something catastrophic can happen as well. So there was no safety. There was no such things as friends. There was no such things as alliances. Trust was always hanging in a thin line. Machiavelli understood this very well, being in the political game during the Renaissance time in Florence. So let's understand, why did he write The Prince in 1513? He didn't do it as an advice from the elite or to the elite, but he did it from a desperate place of exile and torture. Oh, you can tell when you read The Prince how miserable he is not being in the political game. You can see and you can feel with every letter on the pages that he's not quite content with his life anymore. He's not doing what he loves the most. It's not about serving people or the community or the leaders. It's all about doing tyrannic acts that makes you escalate in the political game. And what's funny is that when the Medici returned to power after being exiled, Machiavelli was in prison under suspicion of conspiracy, but he was later released and barred from public life. He wrote this book as a political job application, which is quite interesting if this is the way you want to put in a curriculum for yourself. And it's literally a manual for a single strong ruler. He always had this high hope that this ruler would unify Italy like it once was during the Roman times. Oh yes, Machiavelli loved the Roman Empire and his all magnificence and glory, but he also loved the political game that was all about betrayal, gore, power, assassinations, and more betrayal. But the irony of Machiavelli's dream is that he wrote this for those that have power, although ironically, utterly powerless. So the question is, did Machiavelli feel like a success? And the answer is simple, no. Why can a man like Machiavelli feel successful knowing that he would never be a top dog? He would never be the one in command, although he knew how to play the game pretty well. But yet he failed to betray those enough in power to get to the position that he always dreamed. And you can see this reflected on his writing. You can see his solace and the need to commit more tyrannical acts in the political spectrum, affecting people, but also getting the joy of knowing that he did this and that he's able to do more. And we have to think about it. Machiavelli wasn't talking about let's be evil and tyrannic only once. He's talking about being tyrannic all of the time. And there's no need to justify why your acts are embedded in evil and wrongdoing. It's simple. Just give in to your primitive desires. Be what you are outside of who you are inside. Reflect what you are inside out. Machiavelli believed that this animal instinct could be contained and should be let free and do as you please, to give in to your desires of power. And yes, and once you acquire power, why stop there? It was all about acquiring more power. And I can understand why Machiavelli thought in this way. If we think about it, let's say if you are going up the corporate ladder and you're advancing, you went from management to executive, but there's others above you, and they will dictate your luck at any given time. So this is where Machiavelli delivers something impactful in his book. It's always better to get them before they get you. And that was his number one philosophy. Why wait? Why succumb to other people's decision? And also think about it. Machiavelli was always thinking about the plot of making other fall so you can elevate yourself.